Okay, so I'm going to make some sauerkraut today. I have a cabbage. I don't have the nicest outer leaves, but I do want to save these because I will use these to put on top of the sauerkraut to weigh it down later. As best as I can. So the rest of this, I will have to shred this. I might speed this part of the video up. So I don't want the core. I definitely want to get off the cabbage as thick as I want it. So this core, I'm going to take this part out. It's on every piece. It's just the not so nice part to eat. And one tip I have is try to get longer pieces for sauerkraut. So I'm gonna also weigh these on the scale. I should have a towel under my cutting board for safety. I think I'm only gonna cut up half of this, and I'm gonna make coleslaw with the other half. So don't feel committed to use the whole cabbage for sauerkraut. You could always use some of it for other things. But these long strips are better for sauerkraut. This is so you don't get so many things floating to the top. And of course, sauerkraut is a great source of probiotics, which is mainly why I make sauerkraut in the first place. I also like the sour taste, it's delicious. It's very high in vitamin C as well. Very good for your immune system, your gut microbiome, and it's very easy to make. So I got 500 grams of cabbage in there now, 558. And this is important because you want to know what percentage of cabbage you need. Um, you need to know how much percentage of salt you need for your recipe. So I think this is actually enough here, 642 grams. And then the rest I'm just going to cut up for coleslaw. 641 grams of cabbage. That's the outer leaves. I'll give the outer leaves a bit of a rinse. That way I have the outer leaves as well. 734 grams. at 34. So I do need 14 grams of salt, 14.68 exactly. So you do need a kosher salt. This is so you have a non-iodized salt. Iodine will not allow the lactic acid bacteria to grow. It'll inhibit that from growing. So that's why you want the kosher one. Kosher salt does not add the iodine. So I go by weight. You want to do about 2% to 2.25%. I usually go under and then I'll go over after when I actually weigh it. So I'll plan to go lower and end up going higher. So 14 grams. Let's go 15 for fun. So 15 grams on the scale. Might be a bit hard to see. Let's move it in closer. And 15 grams of salt. So I get rid of the scale. I just need the bowl. So what I do here is I'll put the salt into the bowl, and then I'm going to massage that into it. And I know they say massage gently in most recipes. Believe me, you don't have to be gentle. Like mistreat it a bit, be a bit aggressive. You want to break down the cell walls so that the liquid will come out. The only way that the lactic acid bacteria will start to break down the sugars and starches in the cabbage is after the cell walls are broken down and it will start to pool some liquid. Now you can go as high as 4% salt in this if you like it a bit more salty. I think you can even go lower than 2%. I would have to fact check that. But 4%, anything higher than 6% will not allow anything to grow. And let's make sure you get this in. You can punch it if you want. Make sure you're like hearing it crunch and crackle. So anything over 6% will not allow the lactic acid bacteria to grow, and anything under 2% or 1% will not kill off the other harmful things that could potentially grow in the cabbage when you're fermenting it, because you're going to leave this in a bowl for 3 days. I can already see the liquid coming out. I can already see it like changing. It's not so crunchy anymore. I will let that sit and I'll update you later. So now I'm back with some. So now I'm back. I actually have all this is ready. I'm actually gonna pack it into a bottle. I have an old sauerkraut bottle. This stuff was delicious, by the way. Um, I've already tried to put it in just to make sure it all fits in. So I'm gonna start stuffing this down into this bottle. This is how I originally made sauerkraut the first few times I made it many, many years ago. I definitely did not have a good technique when doing it, so I didn't always get the liquid to rise. Like I said, like you really need to like squeeze this stuff, break the cell walls, make sure it all breaks down. Because, like I said, if the liquid doesn't rise, it does not want to ferment. So you definitely want to press this all down as much as you can. So I love this bottle method, and I'm probably only ever going to make it this way. I've done it by using a big Costco bottle of olive oil to weigh down the liquid, weigh down the cabbage. So this is a fun way to do this. I'll take my cabbage leaves out. I do have a shot glass in there. I will explain that in a minute. Along with the scissors, I need those as well. So what I'm going to do is once all this is in here, that should be good. So you want to press this down. You want to make sure that you are getting rid of any air bubbles in the container. The reason for this is you have two types of bacteria. There is aerobic and there's anaerobic. So aerobic loves oxygen and anaerobic hates oxygen. Did I mix that up? No, aerobic definitely loves oxygen. So what I'm going to do with this now is I'm actually going to cut. Yeah, I don't need to cut it. So I want to make a barrier out of the top leaves of the cabbage. That's why a lot of people will just use an airlock. I don't have an airlock. I should have one with all the fermentation I've done. So I got all this nicely packed. I actually think I need a larger shot glass. So to actually make up some of the space that I need to take up in this jar so the shot glass will work, I will actually pack some extra leaves of cabbage down in here just to give it a bit more space. So this is a good workaround. Because you want to actually have this to push down. The point is to have the lid on top while this weighs it down. This way I can add some more liquid into this. I don't want those bits and pieces in there. It's very hands-on. Let's get rid of those. If I was smart, I would probably just use a strainer. That's okay. I can spoon these out after. There we go. So hopefully you can see this. Yeah, perfect. So I'm going to push this in. What this is going to do is make sure this is all submerged. So the bacteria we want to grow doesn't like oxygen. It actually won't grow if there's oxygen, so that's why we kind of need to submerge this. under here, and I'll just wipe out the inside of this. Get any things that are above the liquid. This is very important because if you don't get this stuff out and it's just sitting on top of the liquid or hanging out, that's where you're going to get your mold, your bad bacteria will grow. So I just turn this around, make sure that there is nothing. It doesn't look like there's anything else above the rim. Like I said, you don't want this stuff above the rim. And then you just take your lid, make sure that shot glass is sticking out a bit. And then you just use the lid to weigh it down. This way you don't have to add a weight to submerge the liquid. There you go. Jar of sauerkraut. Nothing above the liquid. And I'm gonna let this sit on the counter for about 2 or 3 days. You can go even longer, you can go shorter, it depends on how much you want it to ferment. I will finish filming the rest of the video at that point. Awesome. Oh, I also want to point out too, make sure you give the jar a good wipe down because it's probably like full of sauerkraut juice on the outside and on the bottom. And you probably got bits of cabbage hanging out. You also want to make sure you're not getting any bugs hanging around. But you see, I can move and jostle this all I want. It isn't gonna like do anything. In fact, if I want to jostle and move this, give it a good wipe around, I can jostle and move it. It's not gonna do anything. Oh, it's like slippery in my hands. Okay, amazing. See you in 3 days. Like movie magic. You'll be back in 2 seconds. So I just want to show you every once in a while you're gonna get these little bubbles that are like right here. If you see that, um, every once in a while you get these bubbles. The best thing you can do is just open the jar up, and then you can just push down the sides. You can see the bubbles. Use a knife. Just get these bubbles out of here. This will make sure that your sauerkraut doesn't grow anything funky in between. These bubbles are gonna show up from time to time. The best thing to do is check on it once a day. Squeeze down, get these bubbles down. Knife will slide down easily. Yeah. Also, another thing you want to do, I wish I had some pieces floating in here, but I don't. You see, like this piece would, it's like trying to float, but it doesn't. So that's really good. You don't want anything floating in your sauerkraut. So just another night, and I should be able to store this in the fridge. It should be complete. I do have a fork. It is my last day of making sauerkraut, so I'm gonna open up. It smells very briny. Take out the shot glass, and I'm gonna give this a try. Let's see how it turned out. And these leaves on top, they look like they fermented as well. So that's really good. So I'm gonna give this a try. Once you put this in the fridge, you don't need to make sure everything is submerged anymore. Maybe I'll save these cabbage leaves on top though. I mean, I'll make something out of it. So let's give it a try, see how it turned out. Turned out delicious. Very briny, 2% salt, not too salty at all, which is amazing. Um, yeah, it turned out well. Very briny. You can add this to sandwiches. I use it as a side almost every single day. I'll eat this. And on sandwiches, very good. Toss on a grilled cheese sandwich next time you make one. It's delicious. So I'm just going to store this in the fridge. Please like and subscribe. I'll have more videos coming out soon. Thank you for watching.